Welcome to my S&P 500 Trade Watch video. Today is June 20th, 2022. In this S&P 500 Trade Watch video, I will present to you my long and short scenario for the S&P 500 ETF, the SPY, the Nasdaq 100 ETF, the QQQ, and the Russell 2000 ETF, IWM. In addition, I will also show you what I will be watching on Apple and Tesla for the coming week. Then finally, we'll take a look at Microsoft, a request from one of my YouTube followers. Stay tuned. Look at the SPY here. I also identify a potential support zone down here and a resistance zone right into this gap here. And the price area that I will be focusing on for the coming week is between this 366, 365 to 380. So that is a 150 points S&P 500 cash index movement. Essentially you're looking somewhere around 15 point on the SPY. Looking at this 60-minute chart here, once again I have these lower range zone for the expected move and the upper range, and these values are calculated after the Friday's close. So I'm using this and calculating using the next Friday's weekly option expiration prices to calculate these ranges here. Okay, so you can see for the SPY, I'm looking at the low of somewhere around 351 to a high of 381. So this week I'm basically looking for a bounce. That's why I'm going to be focusing on the long scenario more than the short scenario. But I will present you my short scenarios and also the long scenario. So let's start with the long scenario. The first one is the primary long scenario that I will be focusing on is for the price to come to this low volume area here and get into this high volume zone and see would it be able to get a bounce off of this high volume zone, then go long and targeting this 377 46 area, essentially this 377, the lower range, the lower boundary of this upper range here. And that's basically what I'm targeting as an initial target, and see could we trail it up to this 381, essentially this resistance zone here that I identify on the daily chart, right? So that's basically the primary long scenario. The second long scenario is for this price to move down here and test this support zone to identify on the daily chart to see would it be able to get a bounce, hold this support zone and get back into this, this high volume area here, this high volume zone, and basically go long here and targeting this upper range as the first target, then trail it up to see would it be able to get to this low volume zone and see how far it could go, and see could we get up to this 377.30, the lower boundary of this upper range zone. Okay, that is the second long scenario that I will be watching. Now for the short scenario, essentially I'm going to wait and look for the price to come up, test this resistance zone, and see would it come back into this range here, right? This expected upper zone range, and go short and short it back down to this high volume zone here. And the first target to scale out is this 137 area here, and essentially this lower boundary of this zone, and then trail the remainder down to this lower edge, the of this value area, and that would be somewhere around 374, 373 and a half or so. Okay, so those are the scenario that I will be watching on the SPY this coming week. Now let's look at QQQ on this daily chart here. Got the support zone here somewhere around 267 and the resistance zone somewhere up at 284. Again, I basically be focusing on this price range here and also looking for a little bit of a bounce this week, although the trend is still down. So basically just a short, quick swing trade on a bounce. And on this 60-minute chart, I will give you a couple scenario of a potential long, little bit of a quick swing long trade that I'd be looking at, the scenario, and also a short scenario. Now, once again, I essentially have calculate the lower range of the expected move for the week, and that would be between 261 and 266.60. Then on the other side is on the upper range is somewhere around 282.75 and 288. Okay, and also here is the support zone and the resistance zone that I have identified on the daily chart. Now, here's the scenario. The primary scenario that I'll be watching for the long is basically playing it from this edge up to this area here and possibly into this resistance zone to the lower boundary of this upper edge here, the upper expected move zone. Okay, so right now we saw the price pretty much, kind of bounce around to this low volume zone and back into this value area here, this balance area. So we basically could look for a long anywhere above here inside of this balance area and targeting this 280 as the initial target, and then see would it be able to come up, with a little bit of a trailing position on this 282.75. So that would be the primary long scenario. Now, the other long scenario is wait for the price to pull back, dip below this area, and then see would it be able to bounce or hold above this support area and then come back into this zone here. Once you come back into this zone, basically looking for a bounce to see will it be able to, play it back up and targeting this 280 once again. But we could also, scale out somewhere around 275, to scale out some position and take some partial profit here at 275 and then trail it up to this 280. Okay, that is the second long scenario. Now, for the short scenario, basically, I'm going to wait for the price to come up and possibly get beyond this expected move upper range here and into this zone, and come back into this range. And once you get into this resistance zone that I identify on the daily chart, then we will basically short this resistance zone back into the this high volume range here, this high volume value area here, and essentially short it with a primary initial target at 280, and then come down here to this somewhere around 275 on the lower edge here, this right here, 274.50 area. Okay, so that is the short scenario. Now let's take a look at IWM. Here's on the daily. I also identify a support zone and a resistance zone, and those area is in the range of 163.50 on the support area and possibly 174 on the resistance area. Now, once again, I'm focusing on a bounce for the week. So I'd be looking for a bounce from the IWM as well. And here are the zone for the expected move. Here's the lower zone, which is between 157 and 160.50. And the upper zone is 169.90 and 173. Now here is the resistance zone and the support zone that I identify from the daily chart here. So be looking at a primary long scenario. So the primary long scenario is for this thing to come up, get into this value area here or this balance area, and see would it get a little bit of a back test and bounce, and targeting up to this 131.38 and the upper range of this the expected move somewhere around this 173, essentially into this resistance zone. The other long scenario is for the price to come down, test for this support area, and then if we could find support and come back in to this zone, this value area here, then we're basically looking for a long to swing it up to here on the first target somewhere around 166, and then see would it be able to trail it up to this low volume zone and come up to this value area here, this balance area here, and targeting this 169.90 on the expected move upper range zone. Okay, so those are the long scenario. And for the short scenario, I want to see price come up to this zone and then move back in, essentially move beyond this expected move and then come back into the upper range, and we'll short it back into this value area here, and basically looking for a this 171.38 as the initial target and 169.90. We could also scale there, and then also this lower edge of this value area here, this balance area, somewhere around 169. So those are the scenario for the coming week that I'll be watching on the IWM. Looking at Apple here on this daily chart, I also join in a couple of the zone here. One is the potential support zone and a possible near-term resistance zone. I can see that there are prices down here that used to be support, and now it could be turned into resistance. And also we have some resistance here. Now it's coming down, so this could be turned into a support zone. Switching over to the 60-minute chart here, you can see I have calculated the expected lower range of the expected move, and that would be somewhere 124 to 126 and 35, and also the upper range of the expected move between 136.75 and 138. Now, I am expecting a bounce for Apple this week, so I'll be focusing more on a bounce than on a short, but I will present a short scenario and couple of the long scenario that I will be keeping an eye on. And on the first, the long scenario that I'll be watching is to see would I be able to get a bounce off of this zone here, this little bit of a low volume zone. If the price come down and then start popping back up and essentially getting into this high volume area, and I'm basically just playing for a move back up to this high volume area upper edge here, and basically targeting this area here between this 133.87 to 134 area, and that would be one of the quick swing long type of a scenario. The other one is wait until the price come back if it decide to pull back, and see would it be able to stay above this zone. And once it get a bounce after this zone, I'm looking for this thing to come back in to this high volume area and essentially going long here. Then we could scale out partially somewhere around this 132. And again, we're basically targeting this area for the target here, 133.87 to 134. So that is the second long scenario. Now for the short scenario is I want to wait until the price get to this zone, this upper range here, and basically getting up to this area here, you see. And for those that are trading supply and demand zone, you can look at this as a supply zone. You see that once you get up here, got the supply coming in. The same here when it came back up here last time, it got rejected and there wasn't much of a buyers there. A lot of seller basically is selling in there. So what I'll be watching is to see if price come up to this zone and then come back in, basically coming back into this upper range here. Then we're basically going to short this upper range, the price on the upper coming back into this upper range, and short it basically back down into this high volume area here. So again, we basically could be targeting somewhere around 134 and this 133.87 area. Essentially looking for this price to come to this low volume area here. If you short it up here, you could basically looking, look for some sort of a scaling out somewhere around here, okay, at 136, and then travel it down to this zone here into this upper edge of this high volume area. Okay, that is the short scenario for Apple. Let's take a look at Tesla here. On this daily chart here, I have identified a couple of the zone here. One is the support zone down here and a potential resistance zone. So recently you can see that it could be forming a little bit of an intermediate double bottom here. And what I'm going to do is I basically just going to focus in this price area here for the coming week. Now that doesn't mean that the price could not break below the support zone and start working its way back down to this area here. If that's what the price end up doing, then my plan for the week will need to be revised. But because right now I'm basically planning on a potential bounce on Tesla for the week. So now I switch over to the 30-minute chart here. There's a couple things that I want to point out. First of all, is the expected move for the week, and I have calculated the zone for the lower range zone and the upper range zone. Okay, so those are the upper zone and lower zone of the expected move. So you could say the expected move for Tesla for this week could be anywhere from low of 585 for a high of $710. So those are the expected move. Now, in addition to that, I also have a couple micro composite profile here. One is from this price range to the present. Okay, and I have this profile here, this composite. And the other one is this micro composite to get a bigger price action to cover this profile. Now, if you notice that here is like a B distribution, a capital B, with the middle have a little bit of a low volume zone comparing to this area here. In addition, here we basically looking of a sort of a small B type of profile here. So what I'd be looking for right now is a couple possibility. Since I'm looking for a bounce, the first thing that I'd be watching for is to see, will Tesla come down to this lower area here and to the edge of basically this profile value area low, and see what we get a bounce back inside of this value area. And that's why we'll take along and try to target the point of control here, this composite point of control somewhere around 655, and then also target up here to this area here somewhere around 670 area, and that would also in confluence with this declining trend line. Okay, that's the potential long for a short quick swing trade. Now, if I'm looking for a short, then I will basically wait until the price come up to this point here, because we see that it found resistance up here, and we did not find much of a buyers up here when it come up here, and it got rejected. Then it came back in to this zone and also gap down here to back into this, forming this value area here. So what I'm going to be watching is for the price to come up and see would it be able to get back above this area here, essentially getting up to this, upper zone for the expected move. Then I will be looking for this thing to pull back and short it back into this value area, and we'll be basically targeting this point of control as one of the short target, and eventually back to this value area low. Now that doesn't mean we have to go and short, wait for a short all the way down here in order to take a short. What we could do is essentially wait for it to come up here. If the price come up and it come back down and dip below this range here, this zone, we could take a short and then target down here at this area here. Okay, well, there's this high volume node here, so that's you could also scale some profit here, and essentially coming back to this area here on all these high volume node, you could scale, okay, for potential target, and also this composite value area high near 788, this area here. So that would be one of the potential short target. Finally, let's take a look at Microsoft. This is a request from one of my followers. So basically, I'm just going to look at it on a bigger picture, a little bit longer term, because I don't want to focus on this, weekly swing long or swing short type of a trade here on Microsoft. So right now, I basically got this price channel here joined in, projected on a declining basis. And you could also see been making a series of lower low and lower high here. So definitely it is on a downtrend. In addition to that, I also have a Fibonacci retracement set from the post-pandemic low and the all-time high. And you can see that last week it came close to this 50% retracement level somewhere near the 239 area, and got a little bit of a spinning top type of a candle, weekly candle. So for the coming week, we could see maybe try to bounce up to this 382 near the 265 area. And this zone here essentially is a little bit of a low volume zone here. I also have a composite volume profile based on the from the pandemic low to the current the most recent price. So we see that it is possible come up and tag this 382 retracement somewhere around 265, and also test this low volume zone here. And by the time that it come up, it could be in confluence with this declining trend line here on this price channel. And if once it come up, we could also see it maybe pushes back down and test the 50% retracement level here somewhere around 239, and come down and proceed down to the next low volume area here. We could see that there is a little bit of a support up here somewhere around what is this level, somewhere around 225, 226. And then if it break through this low volume zone, then we're basically looking at somewhere around 220.5 or so. Then we'd be looking at this 618 retracement at 213, and also in confluence with this composite volume profile point of control here somewhere around 211, 212. So that would be some of the near term, intermediate term look at the price here. Maybe we see something like this, and price channel coming down, continue to come down here. Then maybe we'll get a nice little bounce here, and then proceed down to test this pre-pandemic high here. And this right here is somewhere around 186, I believe. It's 186.31. So that's the little bit of a bigger picture from the way that I see it here, using the volume profile, the Fibonacci retracement, and also some of these price structures. So I hope this will give you a little idea on what Microsoft might do. Those are my scenario for the coming week for the SPY, QQQ, IWM, Apple, and Tesla. Let me know if these analyses are useful and informative by posting a comment below. And be sure to watch my weekly S&P 500 analysis video for a broad market perspective. And don't forget to smash the thumbs up to help me promote this video. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.